Good morning, afternoon, evening, whenever you're watching this, ladies and gentlemen. I am Max Sand from Right to Offend Media, Maxine Position, and this is the gaming channel. And so we're going to be talking about some gaming news that I've come across this morning. I thought this was interesting. The people are revolting over Crusader King's most expensive expansion yet. The new DLC will grant you an audience, but demands a tithe. Okay, so this is obviously in reference to Crusader Kings 3's first expansion, which I believe is called Royal Court, which has now gone live. It is being widely talked about as being a really, meaty expansion, perhaps one of the better expansions that Paradox has put out for these kind of grand strategy games, and in particular Crusader Kings expansion, in quite a while. It's the first for 3, but even a lot of the expansions for 2 weren't this meaty, and they ran around $20. They've raised it to $30 for this, which they even marketed as being a premium expansion, or whatever that means. And so let's see what Robert Zach. So we have, again, a new person I'm not familiar with. Let's check what do they have for a bio here. They don't even have a picture. They must be new. I'm not familiar with this person, so I can't talk to what their bias might be, but they are covering this story. So the first major Crusader Kings 3 expansion, Royal Court, has been a long time coming. Finally launching earlier this week, the DLC could well be the biggest one yet. That's a telling line there in Paradox's grand strategy roster, with new culture mechanics, a dueling system, and, among other things, a fully rendered 3D court in which to show off your heirlooms, schmooze guests, and slip some hemlock in their goblets if they misbehave. But all this grandeur comes at a price. $30 to be precise, making Royal Court a fair bit more expensive than the $20 price point that Paradox's big expansions traditionally have come in at. Whether or not the bumped up tax in the Crusader Kings holding is justified, the players are revolting. Okay, it's not a tax, right? Value is subjective, and they've decided that the work that they've put into this and, what they need to keep food on the table is to have a $30 price point. You don't get to decide if it's worth it or not, in the sense that you don't get to decide what they charge, you get to decide what you'll pay for it. And people are paying for it, even if some of them are complaining about it. So, at the time of writing, the expansion has a mixed rating on Steam, with exactly 50% of players giving it a thumbs down, and many of those negative reviews pointing to the price. So half are saying it's bad, half are saying it's good, first and foremost, and many of those negative reviews, how many? Right? How many of half? I would actually like to look into this myself. I don't have the Steam pulled up, but I will look in to see if this is accurate and what the numbers really are, since he didn't give us that kind of information at all. I'm just gonna check real quick here. The reviews are mixed. 1,687 reviews. And I mean, the first one I have is it just has a thumbs down emoji as the bulk of the review. And yes, on the front page, I'm seeing quite a few of them complain about the price. However, that doesn't mean much. I'm not going to dig through all the ratings, but regardless, this isn't good information here. So people are complaining about the price. Other people love it. Whatever. Skipping over the rabble of semi-coherent rage reviews, which, yeah, at a glance, there was a couple of those. Even amidst the positive reviews, some players feel it's a tad pricey. One reviewer, Dr. Ramsey, had this to say: got the Royal Edition, and the expansion really adds a lot of depth and a whole new layer of complexity, but I agree with the negging. $30 is a lot to ask for this. There's even an admittance of shameless loyalty from Bo, who wrote quite succinctly, "It's expensive for what it is, but I'm a cuck for Paradox." Over in the Reddit, the discussion has been more nuanced, with one of the most upvoted comments in a thread coming from Redditor Ghostmask, who said, quote, "I have to say that I absolutely love the new DLC. Mixing cultures is something I wished for since the launch of the game, but I think the big problem is the really high price. I mean, they do deliver, and in my opinion, very good, but it's still pretty expensive, and I hope they will not follow this price strategy any further. If they do this once, it's okay, in my opinion, but if every major expansion will cost $30, it's getting too much." So let's just, and it talks about previous DLC problems and stuff, but let's get this in kind of a context here. This is, as it says, this isn't a DLC, okay? This is an expansion pack, right? And so traditionally, there is a distinction in that. DLC is any downloadable content at all. Expansion packs run the gamut, but they're usually a pretty meaty bit of content. And if you look at this list here of some famous expansion packs, I would highlight Baldur's Gate 2 Throne of Baal is an expansion pack to Baldur's Gate 2. And the interesting thing about Throne of Baal is it was $30. And that was in 2001, I believe. Battlefield 1942, each expansion to that was $30. This was 20 years ago. How about Brave New World, Gods and Kings for Civ 5, Civilization 5. So this was, almost a decade ago. Those were each $30. How about Gathering Storm, Rise and Fall for Civilization 6, even more recently. Each of those have gone for $30 to $40. How about, I could go on and on and on with this, but reasonably what we're talking about, the StarCraft 2 and its expansions were mostly $30. An expansion pack being $30 is not unusual. How about, one more. Monster Hunter World Iceborne is $30 on sale. On sale. And that's a current era game. So, not to mention World of Warcraft expansions consistently go for $30, $40. I think the new one was $50. Prices to develop games are a lot higher than they were 20, 25 years ago when some of these things I'm pointing to came out. And they haven't raised the price of base price of games very much. Certainly not in line with inflation or the increase of costs. Gamers are a very entitled bunch. They seem to want everything and they want it all for free. Right? And look, if you're one of those people, you're watching the wrong channel, because I don't agree with that mentality, right? So you want to buy the game itself at $60 and get everything. Even that seems too much for most of you. Even that is, you're going to get complaints from, oh, it's $60, or some of them now are $70. Finally, after what, 20 years since the last price hike on video games? Yeah, the cost of games, some games are costing well over $500 million to produce. They have to make a return on investment. You guys ask consistently for more, better graphics, bigger, more physics, more voice acting, more. What do you think that this is all just done for free and pulled out of the developer's ass? Do you think that they don't have to hire employees? Do you think that they don't have to turn a profit at all? Do you think that they're getting private investment out of the goodness of these investors' hearts, and that these investors don't actually want them to turn a profit so that they can make their money back? What do you think gaming is? It's not. I'm a pretty hardcore gamer myself, ladies and gentlemen. I drink Mountain Dew sometimes, but no, I don't. I actually don't. But the point being, you have to understand that it's completely superfluous. This is not something you need. You don't need the newest Crusader Kings expansion, or you're going to starve, right? This is something you do. It's a hobby, and gaming actually is one of the cheapest hobbies available to like a modern spurg, right? So like, I would love for some of these gamers who cry about the high cost of DLC or whatever to get into Warhammer. Just get into model building, get into making videos, get into get into some other hobby, get into photography, get into model cars, get into model trains, get into something else besides gaming, and you suddenly start to see that hobbies by and large are more expensive than gaming. Gaming is actually great value for the money. I would argue that gaming as a medium is often better value for the money than even watching movies if you are into like collecting physical copies or special editions or anything. Also probably cheaper than collecting anime or manga or anything like that. Probably cheaper than, again, it's definitely cheaper than model building, model painting, things like that. So it's hard for me to cry for people who are like, not only should I not have to pay for the game up front, right? They want their games to be free to play. They also want them to have no method of monetization whatsoever. And they want them to have the most cutting edge graphics. And they want them to have cutting edge gameplay. And they want them to have new ways of gameplay that, they come up with in their head. If you talk to people, gamers, it's not changed very much from when I was like 6 and they were like, wouldn't it be cool if you had a game where you could go anywhere and do anything at any time? And it's just like, yeah, that'd be really cool, but that's not like in the, within the realm of possible game design currently, or, nobody's making that. Or in a lot of cases, it's like, yeah, they've tried to do something like that before and it sucked, but regardless of any of that, they're asking for more and more and more. They want, these massive expansion packs. As you can see, they've been asking for this, and it's a fully rendered 3D court. Now, for those of you who haven't played Crusader Kings, that's actually a huge deal because traditionally in a Crusader Kings game, you get maybe some 2D art. Very rudimentary art. It's a lot of it's very pretty, but it's not, game engine. It's a static 2D image that somebody drew. And now here they go with a fully 3D rendered court. They're changing how the mechanics work, which requires, coding. Then it requires testing, extensive testing, because you cannot release it broken. I mean, even if you have minor bugs, they'll lambast your game. Look what happened to Cyberpunk 2077, which I have some stuff to say about at a later date. I've played through the entirety of 2077, and the rumors of its death are greatly exaggerated. It's actually a fantastic game, but the point being, you're asking for more. You're willing to pay less or none. And then you complain about greedy game developers. And it's like, maybe the gamers are the ones that are greedy. That's all I'm saying. If you don't like it, don't buy it. If you don't like it, don't buy it. You're not entitled to the game. You're not entitled to all the fucking cosmetic items. You're not entitled to the developer's time working for free. None of that shit. And fuck Jim Sterling. And I will catch you guys in the next video.